think everything is fine, my friend. Think I'm on life. Think I am on a the life. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? We back. Shout out to the comment P push-ups. We gotta see what the comments and all that pop up. I think I done still using new software. So still trying to figure it out. I might have to close this screen down. Put it up over here, gang. Put it up on YouTube over here. I'm going to put it up over here to make sure that we actually live. I think we are actually live. And it already got what we got going on up there. Boom. Alright. So we live. Share the screen. See that's what's this what I don't understand. That's what it's showing to y'all. Boom. See, it's still showing that on the screen though. Even though I got it closed off. So excuse me y'all for not being the most prepared nigga when it comes to this technology. I thought, see, it's the program screen. So what's the difference? This shit. See this? We gonna figure it out though. Watch. Man. It's still showing that on the screen. It's still showing that on the screen. Why it ain't showing that on y'all screen though? Yo, peace, Rose of Flame. I'm just not seeing it, bro. I'm trying to get my. I don't even know if y'all can see my screen. It's supposed to be showing the camera now, but all it's showing is the damn screen. Comment puzzle piece. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? We finna get into something tonight. I'm just still fucking up with my damn. With my settings, y'all. Fucking up with my settings. I thought I had all this figured out before before a nigga hopped on here. Shit. wasn't doing. I swear to God, bro, I wasn't doing all this. Nah, it's all love, Rosa Flame. You probably be gone, cause I'm trying to figure out. Oh no, it's not the video itself. See, right now it should be showing me on the camera, and it also should give me the options to move through this slideshow that I got set up, and I don't see the options. So that ain't on nobody else but me. Okay. See, it shows y'all that. I don't get it, y'all. That's what I get for trying to use some new shit. Man, it is what it is, though. But damn. Yeah, that shit look unprofessional as hell, bro. Well, I ain't no professional, so y'all should know that. There you go. All right. Shit. My bad. We finally got it. All right. We got it going. Cotton Puzzle Piece said we in this together. What's happening? Cotton Puzzle Piece is always standing on principle. No, it's been a minute, but we still hold on. Yeah, it's been a minute, man. But goddamn it, now we got it, y'all. It's been a minute. We back to the family. Back to the family. Love, peace, and prosperity to the family. No obstacles will apprehend. There are no obstacles. What do we always say? It's only opportunities. All we have is opportunities. The opportunities to observe our one-sided ass opinions. The opportunity to observe our mind, our thoughts, our emotions, even our body. We can watch it like a TV show, the same way you watching me. The same way you can investigate the way my head moves to the left and right. Watch yourself in that same thing like third person. Observe yourself that way. That starts to dilute a lot of the illusionary nature of the mind. That starts to dilute the imaginary nature of the ego, of this identification system that I am somebody, not just I am, but that I am somebody. Because when you become somebody, what does that lead to? That creates limitations. It's not, the point here is you got to be able to see past just I am this limited person. I need to mute. There you go. I'm not just this limited person. You see what I'm saying? Some people feel like they only limit it to this person, so they limit it to the human aspect only. So now you think you just this human who does human shit, who needs human rights to be granted to them from other people. Get so worked up about a Donald Trump. Y'all join and hit that like button. Get so worked up about a Donald Trump. About what the news is saying. Who else is the hater in the news? Who shiesty or Gucci Mane? Wow. You know what I'm saying? So like to get worked up behind that. You gotta understand once you place the more limitations that you place, which is how you come into duality, the more limitations that you place on yourself is the more stress, the more fear that you're gonna project onto yourself, that you're gonna believe, that you're gonna put yourself into. Is it real? Is the point we're trying to get to here? Is it actual factual? Forty Gualo, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Please welcome back. It's been a minute. Good to see you here. Stand on P. Give them soul. What's happening? What's happening? So, is it real what your mind gives you, or is your mind playing a game like you know how they say the CIA so dope to the inner city of America by way of trying to help out people down there in Central America, South America, and took the profit and made the money. And when they was found out about, they did an investigation on a goddamn self. They did an investigation on themselves. They gave a report on themselves. So when I say try to figure out is all this shit that the mind true that is giving you, is it like the CIA investigating itself? Doing the dirt and then looking at it on its own. Like, we don't know nothing about none of that. That's what the mind is doing. It's doing the dirt, suffering because the dirt is done, or it's doing the good. And then wonder why the good is not coming back in a way that it expected it to come back. Or when the good does come back, the mind can't recognize it because it's looking for something so rigid. When I say rigid, I mean something just exactly like it wants it. I forgot the word to use right there, but exactly the way that the mind wants to receive it. And if it comes in any other shape, form, or fashion, it misses it. So now this is not enough. So now the mind wants more. Oh, it's not enough, but I want more. Not enough. I want more. I got this. I finally got it. Oh, okay. Let's go get more. That's what the mind's doing. And you can relate that to financials, um, influence, food, every goddamn thing. Thoughts, happy thoughts, sad thoughts, all of it. Chicano 22 aspects of the illusion of who you are is awareness of limitations you have that can be used as a tool for the truth. Are we getting into that night? We get into that tonight. Peace, Chicano 22. Peace, peace. What's happening? What's happening? Filters or veils of self limitations. That's what I'm saying right there. We place the limitation. The limitation is automatically placed. See, we think parents are doing it. We think culture is doing it. Is it really though? Are these outer things actually placing the limitations on you? Where are you getting your facts from? How do you factually know that these outside things are placing their limitations on you? Because today, this video is talking about true knowledge and false knowledge. First, we have to speak on what's our definition of truth. We can't go further. What's the definition of truth? If somebody in the chat, somebody drop something in the chat, let me know. If y'all have a definition of truth, or what is true. So can also read to clip off all these real dark side bad broski. Anybody have a definition of truth? Or when you see in the title to this video, I need somebody to talk to me now. When you see in the title of this video, what reigned in your mind about true knowledge and false knowledge? What do you what do you think about when you think about truth? Oh, y'all can barely hear me? Hold up. Yeah, Jimmy say my mic turned up. Oh no, that's the wrong one. I mean my headphones turned up. Yo, 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 yo. Oh, I sound way better now. How I sound now? Y'all let me know. The inevitable. So when you say the inevitable, what do you mean? Just use like simple language. I know Cosmic P, but what do you mean by inevitable? What do you mean by inevitable? Inevitable. Capital T truth goes beyond words. Player. It does. But what does it mean? What does it mean when it comes to you? When you seeing this? This ain't even like a plot twister. I just want to see what's coming to people's mind when they hear the word truth. Wallace says knowing versus belief. First thoughts. That was your first thoughts? Yeah, 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 yeah. You right in alignment with that one, Dan. That was your first thoughts. Chiquino, 22 say I'm better. Truth equals resonance with cosmic levels to, hold up, truth equals resonate of cosmic levels the ego gets to share with the true self. Okay, okay. Well, we finna go on and get into the slideshow then. Hold up. Boom. Hopefully this shows up on the screen. And that's what y'all gonna be looking at. Hold up. It don't look like it's showing up. God, love, self knowledge, Guiana. Say that, say that, say that. Alright, it's showing up. So now we understand, right? We dealing with absolute truth versus relative truth. There's a difference. There's a difference. There's a difference. You're like, this supposed to be non-duality. How is it two? Well, ultimately, it's not two. And that's what we're gonna get into tonight. We're gonna get into true knowledge versus relative or illusionary knowledge. To lose the illusion, we need the illusion itself. And what do we understand the illusion actually is? The mind. So, to break free of the mind, so called, per se, for lack of better terms, Coop TGS, what's happening? What's happening? So, to break free of the mind, we need the mind. So, in this case, we fighting fire with fire. Because there's nothing else but fire to use. In this case, specifically. Make sure this shit showing big. Hold up, y'all. Boom. Boom. So I can see the screen and see YouTube in the comments. Moth Rob, peace, peace, peace. So we got the absolute truth. When we say absolute, what does that mean to you? When we say absolute, what does that mean? That has to be there, nothing else beyond it. When we talk about absolute, because when we dealing with the illusionary realm, all this shit is actually approximates. You know what? I gotta stop. I gotta show y'all something that I read today. Hold up. Or was it yesterday? One of the two. Boom. This right here. So this popped up just on my Google feed about where do your thoughts come from? What do your thoughts come from? Now, when I say approximate, right? That's why I say the illusionary world, we get approximate truths. Is this shit even showing up on the screen for y'all? Oh yeah, it is. Oh, y'all can't even see the whole thing. Let me see. See? Y'all can be mad at me. Sorry. I think that'll put the whole thing in perspective. There. That should make it full screen. Oh, that probably was full screen for y'all though. I'm sorry this shit distracting because I'm coming up with figuring out how to use this system, bro. I'm using OBS now. I know we normally use something else, but I'm using OBS now. Free software, and I'm sick of paying monthly for some goddamn software. I just got to get used to how to work the system, right? Chiquino says absolute reveals itself through waves that the mind gets to integrate. About okay, the absolute reveals itself through. That's what we're getting into today. That's what we're getting into today. That's what we're getting into today. So okay. So Chiquino, stick around because that's where we're going. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. So this popped up on my Western name. I'm like, okay, what's up with this? What's up with this? So in psychology today, y'all know we've already done the big breakdown about how, per se, all the sciences are materialistic sciences. They don't go beyond materialism. They really can't. Because you have to have things that you can measure. You see what I'm saying? So when we're dealing with the main sciences or the sciences, even quantum physics, the thing that's the most non-physical, whichever one it is, whatever physics, you're always dealing with physics, the physical aspect of reality. But if you're in spirituality, you're beyond the physical. That's the whole point of being in spirituality. That's the whole point of being in any religion. You're beyond spirituality. I mean, you're beyond spirituality too, but you are beyond the physical. So when we get relative knowledge from them or this type of science, we have to when we get knowledge from any source like this in general, anything dealing with words in general is relative knowledge. And the main thing that always gets us is what? Our thoughts. What are we dealing with daily on a daily basis? Is our thoughts. It's the thought process. What I'm gonna have, what I'm gonna be, how I'm gonna get this, when I do this, when I meet the right girl, when I meet the right man, what I'm gonna eat, who am I? I can't let nobody play with me like this, or people are always stepping on me like this, or I gotta hold myself back from hurting other motherfuckers because they got me fucked up, or I'm a motherfucker who love to fuck people up. What are these thoughts? Right? Y'all know how I get down when we get to talking about thoughts. Are your thoughts yours? Right, Rosa Flame. Why? Why measure an illusion? That's the boy, we get into that tonight. We getting into that tonight. We getting into that tonight. But it's an illusion, bro. Why measure an illusion? Exactly right. Why? Once you get to questions like that, once you get to ask yourself questions like what Rose of Flame just said. This shit is over with. If it's an illusion, why am I measuring dimensions, atoms, quarks? Everybody doesn't want to have that understanding, though. And I literally mean body. Everybody doesn't want to have that understanding. Or better yet, every mind or ego doesn't want to have that understanding. Because you want to keep going and striving for something with the identity attachment to it. Having things is not the problem. To Muslim, is it fact school? Having things is not the problem. Because you really don't have shit anyway. So that's not the thing. The thing is that you really believe that you have things. That's the problem. Let me stop. But those are the thoughts what we're going to get into tonight. I'm trying my best to hold back. So I read this, right? I'm reading, I'll say, let's see what neuroscience, psychology have to say about consciousness. Maybe they figured it out. That is nothing to figure out, but doesn't look like it. It's completely rooted in relative knowledge. It has to be, right? So these key points they talk about, I don't want to go through all of this, but it talks about, okay, so we're talking about consciousness, right? Or your thoughts. Where do your thoughts come from anyway? It can feel like our thoughts along all the sensory inputs and data our brains and bodies receive each day. It can feel like our thoughts, along with all the sensory, right? Dealing with the senses, with all the sensory input and our data. In data our brains and bodies receive each day. So they're already, well, they ain't got to that. Each day are processed in some central location. Like we each have our own Wizard of Oz in our heads, who sifts through our unconscious and conscious thoughts and presents us with a unified story for how life is here in Oz. Don't we all seem to think that our mind is something like that? It's something like this centralized location that's sifting through our unconscious and conscious mind and like, oh yeah, here you go, put this up. Okay, here you go, put this up. Okay, here you go, put this up. That man behind the curtains feels like us. Who is that? Who's that man behind the curtain? It feels like us, like our personal identity. When I say I, who are you talking to, me? Who's that me? Who is that me who is saying that? Are you talking to me? Who is this me? Is it the body? Y'all know here. Y'all been here. Is it the mind itself that claims to be this I, this me that I am, that seems to be presenting me with all of these thoughts? To the point where I say my thoughts. It feels like we are those thoughts that have been sifted and sorted by the great Wizard of Oz. So even if you wasn't into the I am pure awareness and consciousness, science, neuroscientists are starting to figure out this false ass sense of a person that we think we are. This false sense of a person that we think we are. And this is the main thing non-duality, or, the talks about you are pure consciousness is talking about this here. I don't expect to get, you know what I'm saying, straight absolute consciousness, I am awareness, I am the I am of I ams out of fucking psychology and neuroscience. I'm not that fucking naive. But we know it's moving to a state for them, at least, that this person that we think we are, that's having these thoughts, that's presenting us with thoughts, that's making these decisions, we think that's us. Cool. Oh, damn. Rose Flame said, I think we have a room of 100 people all measuring the same thing and all coming to the same answer. People saying it's an illusion. This dumb. Probably are the problem. But hey, see, And that's the thing there. See that okay, let's say if there is 100 people in a room, right? Measuring the same thing, all measuring the same thing and coming to the same answer. The people are saying it's an illusion, this dumb, are probably the problem. Let's think about that. Let's test that theory out, right? Because this is how we get relative and false knowledge. Because we can only use our senses to measure these things. Now, here's the thing about the mind. Let's just say, and it's not at what's name. We just at Chino. We just using this. I mean at Rose of Flame. We using this to discover, to inquire, to scrutinize. Right? That's a relative knowledge if we dealing with measuring a room anyway. Right? That's just relative knowledge. But we have to look at how the environment, how that answer came to, right? What measurement system are we using? It's already controlled variable. What measurement system are we using? Because one person can say, oh, this room is 100 square feet, 2.2 inches, 0.45 centimeters, zero point 0.3 centimeters, or millimeters. And then one person just said it's 100 and something square feet, flat. They're not doing all of that. Then another person can say it's 100 and this and this and this and that. See, what happens is we just have there's just this one superficial agreement. Oh, okay, we just gonna say it's 100 feet. We just gonna say it's 100 square feet. But when we get to the particulars, there's no absolute knowledge in that. There's no absolute truth in that. There's no absolute truth in it. And this is what you have to do to the mind to understand the falsity of its nature. The mind is used for a reason. It's a tool for a reason. It's not meant to give you the absolute knowledge. And that's what we're going to get into today. Because we could even get into this, but I think it's going to take us a while. Y'all know how this shit get when we get to reading. Hold up. When we get to reading and we ain't even started where we supposed to be at yet. Hold up. Let me see the chat. Yeah, Coop say, yeah, most people never differentiate between thoughts and the observer of the thoughts. Facts. Let's see. Coop TGS already said that. Thoughts come from a comfortable mental department. Chemicals shooting off physical patterns are just a new definition of comfortability. The battle is mind and comfortability. For a while, the brain and the ego have a job to do. 40 Waller said. Rose of Flame said it all goes to non-attachment, right? Action and inaction. Inaction, inaction. I'm not even sure. Bro, at a certain point, it's a circle jerk of avoidance. In in a sense, yeah, let's not even put a foot over that because you know how it is. So what we're dealing with here, that's what we're going to talk about, the absolute and the relative. On the relative level, it can be looked at as avoidance of somebody saying it's this or it's not that, it's this and it's that, it's this and it's that. You The point of questioning reality is also questioning, let's just say, how do I use it? You have to question the foundations about which you know things. So one person is going to measure a room and say it is this, and one person is going to measure a room and say it's that. Okay, what system of measurement are they using? Okay, how do we come up with this system of measurement? This is only an example that we're using here, y'all. But how do we come up with this system of measurement? So measurement itself is a circle jerk. Because there's no definite absolute truth to a measurement. All of this shit is approximation. That's what we mean when we talking that this shit is an illusion. Because there's no definite answer for this relative shit. If that's the case, science wouldn't keep changing. I think they even changed the weight of a kilogram. A kilogram no longer weighs this, it weighs that now. Like, what the fuck? And I'm pretty sure they got some intellectual way to make sense of the shit. Hold up. Boom. Most people just recycle the thoughts over and over. They just loop patterns. They just loop patterns. Or are they? Or are they changing constantly? Or are they changing constantly? Or are they changing constantly? Rosa Flame said, "No, tape measure works the same for everyone. Get that tape measure to a 3-year-old baby. Not even a 3-year-old. Give it to a 6-month-old baby, and see does it work. You see what I'm saying? It's not consistent. It's not working in the same manner. When we say work, what is it used for? What is it meant for? It's used to so-called measure, right? Give that shit to a fucking infant. Get it to somebody in the fucking Congo. And no telling what motherfuckers to make for it. What did it do for it? You see what I'm saying? Give a group of people, put their ass in public housing that's made out of bricks and that's fenced in. You're gonna get some people that grow up, come up out of it to be geniuses. You're gonna get some people that grow up, come out of it that's gonna be crack addicts, drug addicts. You're gonna get some people who's gonna fuck and stay there and stay on government assistance. Nothing against none of this shit. This is what I grew up around. Even if I didn't, like, what's the real difference here? Besides a whole bunch of patterns, aka thoughts, aka patterns of thoughts that think they are people. Because if you go over here, them not being able to understand doesn't mean the way it works changes. It does mean the way that it works changes. You're talking about relative for you from someone who understands that pattern only. That's relative. That's the point we're trying to make. That's relative for you and anybody who has agreed what a tape measure is. And when I say agree, I mean just like in law, implied contracts. It's not like you sign a piece of paper and say, okay, I agree to use this tape measure as this and for this, and this is what a tape measurer means. Not that type, but implied. You just automatically went along with it. You're not looking for real. Rosa Flame, you're not looking for real at this moment. Let's keep going, y'all. You're not looking for real. So, an exploration of true knowledge, the illusion of duality, and the realization of I am. What's the standard? We have to set a standard for absolute truth. So, if you have your representation of what absolute truth means for you, what that which does not change is what I'm saying. What does not change? Relative knowledge is always changing, like we just ran through here, right? If I'm a fucking plumber, what a wrench is used for is gonna only be what a wrench is used for. But if I'm a motherfucking psychopathic killer and murderer, a wrench can be used for torture. The truth of what this item is only true for it. I mean, it's only shifting, but it's only shifting between the user. The user has a different setup. When I see a motherfucking Cybertruck, I think they're one of the coolest motherfuckers down roll it down the street. But to somebody else, it's that shifts for them. That's the worst shit ever that they've ever seen. I can't believe that shit is on the road. They need to get that shit off the road. And relative knowledge is dependent. Let's take that same car. It's dependent on who's looking, what mind is observing, what patterns have become cool to that person. This is why a certain person has a favorite color purple. My favorite color green. And it's temporary. It doesn't last. My opinion on that thing may not last. Just like when people get cars, the newest car of the year, that's the flyest shit. 20 years pass by, that car ain't shit no more. And also, relative knowledge is reliant on external conditions. Something outward, right? Something outward. And then we're dealing with absolute knowledge. It's permanent. Under no conditions does it change. It's self-evident. It doesn't need any secondary application or apparatus to prove itself. It's true in its own right. So it's not dependent. It's not temporary. It's permanent. To qualify as absolute knowledge, knowledge must be true at all times, in all three states: waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. We run back to this each and every time for a reason. Because that's the same experience so-called humans, all humans, have or have had: waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. If you let the scientists tell you, fucking ants have dreams too. Fucking ants have dreams too. So if they got dreams, they probably deep sleep. They probably deep sleep as well. They probably having deep sleep as well. So things have to be true in a waking, dreaming, and deep sleep state. Well, we're gonna chase that shit down every time. In the waking state, I appear to be a copper colored man, aka a nigga to some folks. In my dream, I'm pretty sure y'all have had dreams. Shit, I done looked down in my hands and I've been green before. I've been a shorthand, black, even blacker, stubby fingered man. I've been a white man in my dream. So my identity automatically starts to fade away in a dream state, coming from the waking state, in a dream state. So now that I'm in my dream state, what is the source of my dream state? The source of my dream state is my mind. Because my body does not go inside of my dream state. I'm pretty sure everyone here has had dreams where they actually wasn't the same person that they seemed to be in a waking state. But here's the thing about it. In the dream state, the mind takes the things in those dreams to be true. And we talking about the mind takes it to be absolutely true. Why do you think you sweating in your dreams? Why do you think you scared in your dreams? So when you wake up, you sweating and all that shit. You see what I'm saying? You done had wet dreams before. I done had wet dreams. You get the busting a nut in your dreams. The mind takes it to be true in that state. So if we taking it, that's the same mind from the waking state that's taking shit into the dreaming state. And it's flip-floppy. So what's that? What does that mean? It's shifting. It's dependent. It's temporary. So what the mind takes to be true in the waking state is not the same truth that travels into the sleeping state. So we have a standard for absolute truth. It's not changing. It's not changing. Let me see. Levels of relative knowledge. Me or you. God damn it, I'm missing some shit, Rosa Flame. Okay, it barely does. Oh, I missed some shit, Rosa Flame. I'm loving the breakdown so far, pal. Nightmares need respect. Nightmares need respect on his name. Yep, and the same with his waking reality. What someone thinks cool is completely different from a tool that's designed for specific purposes. Where buttholes may be designed for a specific purpose of shitting out of. But we got 3.4 billion videos of butt sex. Is it true? Let's lose another example. But yeah, is it true that it's only meant for shitting? Yes, that's true. But that's relative to the people who understand or use it in that manner. But if somebody else somewhere having a dirty thought, be like, oh no, that's not the only thing that it's for. So that's true, but it's also, it's not. It does do that. So a tape measure does measure. Oh, but that's not its own purpose. That's not its absolute truth. That truth is not permanent. Mother crazy. But I'm just saying. So let's get to the next one. So here we go. What I'm trying to prove here is what we're doing is we're looking for the truth with a broken instrument. With, let's just say, not even broken. Maybe that wasn't the right word. We're looking for the truth with an instrument that can't perform that action. What's an instrument? Okay, let's say we're trying to fucking build a house and all we have is a fucking flute. You know, type flute. All we got is a fucking flute. Well, I actually can't say it can't be done, but that instrument may not be the best instrument or the tool to use for that task. To a point, there's going to be a degree of people, so-called people, remember that, so-called people over time, who's going to test that theory, which is what scientists do, which is what so-called spiritualists do, which is so-called what the gurus have done. But they didn't do it with outside things. They did it with the mind. And what they've come back and found out is that the mind is not a sufficient enough instrument or tool to grasp absolute truth. So it's not the intellectual shit. It's not me figuring out the circumference. It's not me being the best businessman. It's not me being the nicest person. The physical senses are evolved for biological survival. The physical senses are evolved for biological survival, not for perceiving the absolute reality. Because if we're going to call this place an illusion, and that's absolutely right, Rosa Flames, hence the first slide. To break out the illusion, so-called breakout, you need the illusion. So to dissolve the mind or break free of the mind, you're going to need the mind. But it gets to a certain point where you know you can't get it. But let's go. So our five senses, our hearing, our tasting, our touching, our smelling, our feeling, seeing, are not meant for the perceiving of an absolute truth of that which does not change. The senses can sense things that change. They are strictly limited on the range and prone to misinterpretation. We ain't got to go deep with that. We do that every day. You see somebody walk by you in a grocery store, you see him again, like, damn, I seen you earlier. I thought you had on a purple shirt. I thought that shirt was purple. It's blue. It's prone to misinterpretation. You look from afar and you see a cloud of smoke, you might automatically think that it's a house burning down. Or actually, you get closer, you find out it ain't nothing burning. It's a motherfucking cloud. And that's it right there. Coop DGS. You know I was getting to it. The deletion, distortion, and the generalization. You ain't got to read a book to know that. All you have to do is look at it. Observe what the mind is actually doing every day. That's why we have sayings like my mind playing tricks on me. It's no wonder why everybody can relate to that. Even they can't relate to the full content of that song. They can relate to the chorus of that song. Everybody seeing their mind playing tricks on them. Everybody know it does that. Is it really playing a trick, or is that just its nature of misinterpreting or projecting its imagination? Furthermore, the mind that processes these senses is already deeply flawed, easily deceived medium. You thought this, but it really was that. You know how many times I've done in this household? With my woman, I thought she said this, but she really said that. And I can bow down and lay down to it. I'm like, okay, because I do know how the mind works. So I thought I heard you say. That shit happens all day, every day. So how are we dependent upon the mind to be able to find that absolute truth, that which does not change? The mind's ultimate blind spot, the waking state and a dream state. And we just went through this, right? In the dream, the mind completely believes that its internally generated imaginations are external in physical reality. Inside the mind, when you're having a dream, because the only thing that exists in the dream is the mind, the trees in your dream, the rocking chair, your grandmama's old house, your eggs, they exist in that dream, and the mind is taking it for real reality, or let's just say the waking state, right? It's taking it for the waking state. Because here's the weird thing about how we can try to judge the dream state and the waking state. Me personally, I don't see no difference between a waking and a dream state. They both the same. Different physical laws may apply there. Different physical laws may apply there. There's no difference between a waking and a dream state. They're both built from the mind. They're both projected from the mind. Let's say that. That may sound better. They both become better. I mean, they both the same thing. Based off the same source. But we are judging the dream state from the waking mind state. So let's use this example. Maybe that's not making sense to you. Maybe that's not clear. I'm judging how poor, low income people are acting, how foolish it is, how stupid it is. Hey, just get a fucking job. From a standpoint of a person who has a job, who's probably born into money, or is a business owner, or whatever the case may be. I'm speaking from that standpoint. And that standpoint, that's truth. From that perspective of looking, there's a lot of people who say that that's truth. But if I'm in the other state, I'm using this for wakening dream state, right? But if I'm in the state of a person who comes from low income and nothing but government assistance and food stamps, and I have to sell drugs, in my mind, I have to sell drugs. That's the only way. Or I have to rap. That's the only way. Oh, excuse me. That's the only way. And what they talking about is foolishness. So if I'm judging the waking state from the dream state, of course I'm gonna say the waking state is not real. If I'm judging from the waking state onto the dream state, of course I'm gonna say the dream state is not real. I'm speaking from that standpoint because that's all the evidence that I have. I can come up with a whole fucking um what they call it, philosophy in the waking state about the dream state. I can come up with a whole fucking philosophy in the dream state about the waking state and have motherfuckers following it. But both of them are founded upon the mind. And we already went through what the mind is. And we're going to keep going. How can we trust an instrument that repeatedly fails to recognize its own imaginations are false? The mind can't even accept it. It'll argue you back and forth. And it can't see past its own imaginations. What it's creating. It can't even see what it's creating. Like a child can't even see what it's doing on its own. It's not even paying attention to what it's doing to itself. Or how it's breaking its own, let's say, like breaking its own toy. Tearing his own toy to pieces. The child is not paying attention to that until maybe later to realize, like, oh shit, I destroyed my own shit. So how can we trust an instrument that repeatedly fails to recognize its own imaginations as false? The requirement of others is what we about to get into. Now we about to get to the second one. Rosa Flame says, yeah, build a house and guess what? All that becomes stupid right away. God damn, Rosa Flames, I'm missing what the fuck you was talking about, bro. My bad. Drop a like. If you haven't hit that like button, hit that like button if you haven't just yet. Oh no, I would say that as someone who totally completely knows the struggle. And even then, it's people who won't even admit that they're struggling. Everything good. But everybody, you got somebody right next to them in the same position, like, oh hell no, you tripping. It's fucked up out here. Like that's the relative knowledge of the mind. That's how, bro, the mind, bro. I'm trying to tell you, bro. It's like that's what I grew up trying to figure out. I was always interested in, like, how the fuck can there, like, I got a sister grew up in the same household and me, and our views on reality is totally different. And I'm talking about before spirituality. I'm talking about in the streets. Views on reality in the way that we perceive reality is totally different. Same household, same struggle. Or you got people who grew up in the projects, same struggle as you, have a whole totally different view or outlook. How the fuck does the mind do that when we all seem to be experiencing the same reality? That's because you're not. Everybody doesn't have the same agreed concepts. Or they may be seeing the same thing and seeing it in a totally different way. That's not the person's doing, that's how the mind does on its own. That's how you create an illusion. What is that? To create otherness. Like there's something separate. If there's something separate, there can be multiplicities. Just leave it there. If there's something separate, there can be multiplicities. So there can be multiple viewing the same object, seeing multiple different aspects. That is true, Rose of Flames. That is true. We just ain't got to that point yet. You know the type of shit we talk over here. You know the type of shit we talking over here. We building up to it. So the mind cannot exist in isolation. It is an object knowing consciousness. So is it part of the concept that we use called consciousness? Yes, because if we say all is consciousness, if we saying there's no right, no wrong, that's why they got a concept called Vijnana, outside of Jnana, which means beyond knowledge. So you have to use knowledge to know the truth. Actually, truth and knowledge are synonymous. I'll get to that in a minute, Rosa Flame. Hold up. Damn, I forgot where I was at. The mind cannot. Okay, so the object knowing consciousness. The mind, the ego is still the consciousness, just a distorted aspect of it. It's just a distorted aspect of consciousness, which is the way that a whole fucking illusion is birthed. And you know this by your wakening, dreaming, and deep sleep states. Because what's true in the waking state may not be true in the dream state. What's true in the dream and waking state is not true in the deep sleep state. You don't know numbers in the deep sleep state. You don't know houses. You don't know juice. You don't know cars. You don't know your race. You don't know your gender. You don't know your name. You don't know your family in a deep dream state. In a deep sleep state. So it's an object knowing consciousness is what the mind is, right? To feel real, it must fracture reality and project something else to look at. This is the birth of duality. This is the same story of the fucking archons. What's the shit in Gnosticism? Goddamn it, I forgot. Yalabroth coming out of Sophia. It's the ego, the mind. It's projecting everything else from it. It creates this separation and rules over this separation. This is what the mind does. This is the creation of reality. This is your direct experience as well. Your mind is creating a separate, because what else is inside of the dream other than your mind? Everything is coming from the mind, being projected from the mind in the dream. Everything is. So what's looking like there's a tree over there and a couch over here and a dog right here and a woman right there, it's all the one that's projecting the whole thing. There's not a two. What am I saying? There's not a relative truth. I mean, that's what it is. It's a relative truth. Projecting the whole thing. It's on a relative because it keeps changing. Or it's under the illusion that it's changing. This is also why they say, don't even worry about the mind, because the mind ain't even real. It's just the fact that here's the thing, because we're going to get into realization, because it's just the fact that you believe that it's real. You just believe that the shit is real. That's the problem that we're having. That's why we think we get into spiritual levels and being more advanced. And there's a triad of these perceptions. This is what the mind is doing simultaneously. Y'all see those three numbers right there, right? The knower. No, let's stop it. The three. Y'all already know when we come to the three, by way of Travis Majors, put a nigga on game and got my own understanding of Rogers, Thomas, and Sattva. The active aspect, the stillness aspect, let's just use that. Because you can break down Sattva in a whole bunch of, it can mean being. Sat mean being. Being. So you got the Rajas, the movement. You got the Thomas, the stillness. You got the Thomas, the breaking down aspect, or the lazy, or the ignorance aspect. And then you have Sattva, the stillness aspect. So those three keep shining all the way down to the illusionary reality. Those are the three attributes of everything in existence. If you look deep enough, you will be able to find everything in existence has these three qualities, of one of these three qualities as dominant within it. No, man, because there are things we can all agree on, like that a 30-foot room is a 30-foot room, and we can all put it to the test and prove it over and over again. Bro, I don't know what the hell you talking about, Rose Flames. Everybody don't use 30 feet. That's what... I don't know what point you think I'm talking about, but if you go to England or Russia, they may not use feet. Just like over here, we use miles per hour. They use kilometers per hour, however the fuck it is. This has not always been the case. That's what we're talking about, how shit is relative. It's 30 feet to us. When I talk to somebody who's from the Western end, they don't use fucking Fahrenheit. They use Celsius. So that measurement is relevant to whatever group concept has been used. Let's just say whatever thought that school has used or agreed upon. That's what we saying when we saying it's relative. Cool TJ says, just like the sun and the sunlight are the same. Facts. There's no difference between the sun and the sunlight. The light reflected on the moon is the sun. Same with consciousness. It's the same light. Under the illusion that it's appearing through something separate, or that there is something totally separate. A series of 40 Water said a series of illusions that you think are real. Bobby Hemmett, facts. That's all it is. There's a whole bunch of series of illusions that you think are real. And that's why you get to a point you understand, like, oh, this shit ain't nothing but a fucking game for real. Even though that's a concept within itself, that it's a game. But nonetheless, when you start looking at it that way, your attachment to how you want things to be per your ego starts to diminish. Shit don't make you mad. You don't take shit serious. You don't take yourself that serious. And that don't mean you don't take it serious, like walk around spinning a gun around your finger and playing Russian roulette. Maybe you do turn into somebody like that. But that's not what I'm encouraging. You just figure out, oh, I'm not just limited to this body. Not limited to this mind. All of those things find their limit within me, the consciousness. But sure, some people might be a little weenie, like it's actually, you see, that's what I'm saying. 3.30 feet in 1/4. Hold it here, bro. Saying that we are using the system, bro. Hold it here, saying that we are using the system of measurement. Like temperature is different, right, Shakino? Right? Maybe it's just another person's symbol system. That's all we're saying. And somebody got the right to be weenie. Right? Because you want to be weenie. Let's say this. Like, you want to be weenie when somebody's giving you your dosage of fucking drugs that you need. Because if they're not weenie, if they're supposed to give you 3.4 cc's and they give you 3.4468 cc's and the lethal dose is 3.468, you want them to be weenie. You will hope that they're weenie. But nonetheless, you know fucking well I get exactly what you're saying, Rose Flame. And guess what we also figured out? How to convert those things into other systems, which if anything prove with hold up into other systems, which if anything proves it that much more like wow. Damn, I'm confused on that one too. Let's go. The three triads of perception, right? You got the knower, the knowing. First of all, let's get this understood because this shit happens simultaneously when we look over it. So we have the knower, the subject, the I, right? And we can be talking about the mind's eye, the ego, right? The I, me, mine's, and I, whatever. My body, my hair, my face, my skin, my bitch, my hoe, my money, my burp, my bad. And then the act of attention, the actual act of knowing itself, of the act of knowing, the process itself of knowing, which means attention has to be placed onto something to know it. So you got the subject, and then you got the action, and then you got the object. You got the noun, the person, place, the thing, the object, the known. So you have the knower, the knowing in the known spontaneously happening. But guess what? None of these elements can exist independently. There cannot be an object without a knower who knows the object. There cannot be a knower who can know an object without the action of knowing. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying? Three separate things can exist simultaneously. It can show up as three separate things, but it's actually one thing. Still exists as one thing simultaneously. The moment the mind projects outward, all three states arise simultaneously to create an illusion of a divided reality. That is how the illusion is born. That is what we mean by illusion. Things to appear what they are not, which they like to call superimposing. You're imposing it superficially onto this. We're superficially imposing just like Adam did. Adam called a lion, a goat, a turtle, and a fish. He superimposed those titles on that. Who was doing that? The knower. That was a simultaneous process. His ego, the mind, is projecting that onto the lion, the fish. They're not. How the fuck is a fish gonna call itself a fish? They don't even speak the same language. Did it tell you, hey, I'm fish? We superimpose the name of fingers onto our fingers. So the knower and the known don't have a separate reality from each other. They're actually, in this way, they're the same thing. I cannot say these are fingers if I, the knower, don't exist. So me and the thing that known, me and the thing that is known arrive simultaneously. just like in your dream. So that's the same thing that's happening in the waking state. This is why I'm saying there's no difference. There cannot be a thing that's known that's separate from the knower. Ultimately, you start off, you have to go work ourselves backwards and say the knower and the known are two different things. We have to say that. But on an ultimate level, you get to understand that, damn, there's no separate reality from the known and the knower. But first, the first steps is to see the separation between those two. And then you come and see there's actually no separation of those two. And that's when you understand, oh, that's the falsity of this fucking reality. There's no state line between fucking Georgia and Tennessee. It's not real. It's not real. Power was a terrible example, but you niggas want to send us. Let's read. Meters of feet. This is Rose Flame. It said meters of feet. This room is still the same size, and we can prove it multiple ways. But oh, the room doesn't exist. You guys didn't know. But the room doesn't even exist. You guys didn't you know? That's just at a different level motherfuckers got. Yeah, you ain't doing that shit in a room full of carpenters, but I get what you're going with it. 100% get where you're going with it. Ultimately, the room does not exist outside of this reality that we call the mind. Because if you had no mind, what room? When you go into deep sleep, what room? Your bedroom or your couch or outside under a box you're sleeping under don't exist if you're in deep sleep. This is why we call this here shit like that. When we talk about like measurements and shit like that, that's why measurements become false. Not even become false. Ultimately, they are. See, we got to talk on a relative level, then we got to talk on an ultimate level. On ultimate level, measurements are fucking false. But if I am Joe Black and I need three bedrooms built in my house, fucking right, I gotta use measurements. But that's only relative. Because ultimately, the house only exists within my mind, just like everybody else only exists within my mind. This house does not exist separate from my mind. I, the knower, cannot know the house separate from my mind. Because the knower and the known appear at the same goddamn time. Tell me how to build a house without a mind. See if I even listen. See if there is anyone listening. Or take your mind away and think about a house. Which is the point of what they do. So what they do, what the hell? Hold on. Cotton Puzzle Piece says, 40 Water, are you gonna go back like, look at all this dope shit I did with that life? Or that was dumb boohoo. Sure, it's a dream either way, but which way is less suffering? Damn, everything is happening on top of the not happening. That's the only way for something to happen, what Cosmo Puzzle Piece said. That's it right there. That's the only way for the things to happen. For something to happen. It can only happen in an illusionary state. It can't happen, it can only happen in a relative state. It can't happen in an ultimate state. But since the ultimate is the only real thing, so-called realized people say, okay, so if that's the point, then nigga, ain't none of this shit real. I ain't really tripping on shit. Zero sent me a video, y'all. Sent me a video of they was just talking about so-called realized people. And I say so-called because it's like, how is a person going to realize itself? You know what I'm saying? It's like there's nothing, but that's another story. But these realized people, these true enlightened ones, people like to say, right? These true enlightened human beings. If you know, you know why I'm laughing. But so many different people took so many different ways, or let's just say so many different minds took so many different ways. It was one dude named Krishnamurti, not the Krishnamurti that everybody know. He a different one. He couldn't. He didn't fuck with Sri Ramana Maharishi. He didn't fuck with the. He grew up scrutinizing spirituality. Like all of this is bullshit. They taking money. It ain't none of this shit this and ain't none of this shit that. They doing this and the ones who not taking money, they just like well his shit. I don't know if they I doubt if they not enlightened or whatnot. All they just doing is sitting there quiet. I didn't feel nothing come over my body. So just basically scrutinizing all of the shit, all the spirituality and all that shit. And they swing right around, right? He swing around. I forgot what the fuck he ended up doing. He just ended up saying fuck everything. And just like, I'm gonna figure this out on my own. So he disowned everything, every concept, every title, every name. And I forgot exactly what happened to him, but the point is, he ended up having the same experience or the same realization that every other self-realized person has had. He denied all of it. Then you had another one who went fully complete head on into all his sensual pleasures. Drugs, getting drunk, fucking prostitutes, and writing songs about it, aka poems about it. He went all the way the opposite way. He was a Buddhist. Forgot this dude's name. If y'all follow Zero, ask Zero to send y'all the video I'm talking about. It's on YouTube. And these people I done heard, some of these people I done heard of, but I didn't know too much about them. And this nigga go all the way into all his sense pleasures. All the teachings tell you to back away from the sense pleasures and this and this and this and that. Fucking prostitutes, getting drunk, getting high, falling asleep drunk on the steps of the goddamn ashram or the temples or whatnot. Then you got some who went so-called completely crazy. Like it had like 5, 6 of them in there. Even had Maharaj in there. Like the thing about this shit, like when you really understand this shit, that's why you'll get somebody to say like after you get it, after you have the conviction, nigga, that you not this body and this mind limited, do what the fuck it is you gonna do. And I've heard of some shit called like neo avoiding type shit. I ain't really I've heard it. I remember that Jesus dude came on here talking about this shit. I heard I didn't really know what the fuck nigga was talking about. But the thing is this, bro. Once you really have the real, I don't know who has or who hasn't. It ain't y'all business, ain't my business who has or who hasn't. If the shit register with you, rock out with the Glock out till you have your own realization. That's always been the name of my game. It ain't never been intellectual back and forth. Hell, that's never been the name of the game anyway. Only for people who think this reality is really real. It's an intellectual back and forth. With yourself is what I'm talking about here. Because you think you're going to be able to use that intellect to understand the nature of where you come from. Let's see. Inclusive measurements relative to the same language and all symbols. Holographic universe. Good and evil. Same side of the coin. Facts. Like how fast do you know you're going on a highway without somewhere to go? Without somewhere to go, there is no speed. Think about that. You think about that. Trees ain't thinking about speed. You see what I'm saying? If we wanted to break it down, I guess technically it's traveling through space by growing up, by growing and rising up, and then the roots go downward. Technically, But a tree ain't thinking about no motherfucking speed. It just is as it is, and it exists as it is. As it is. Let's go to the next one. We moving slow. So it's just like the illusion of the sky, right? It's just like the illusion of the sky, bro. We seem to think the sky is blue. Like I remember, I always say that shit. Like, bro, like this ain't the same blue sky I grew up with. Like the sky is like lighter blue like that. Back when I was a kid, I remember this shit being a darker blue. So even the measurement of that color, right? The degree of that color hue has changed. For somebody else, they can say, shit, nigga, that's the same color sky I always been, nigga. I remember. But science tells us it's only refracted light with empty space. It's actually empty and colorless, which would make sense, more so sense, because we sitting in a vast, so-called, let science tell us, a vast universe of darkness. The fuck this blue come from? So this easily just an illusion that the mind has made, or that the eyes, the senses, have made. Right? Similarly, the duality of worlds is just an optical illusion. The pure light of consciousness refracted through the phantom prism of the mind that we just showed. It's refracted. Boom! So at the instantaneously, I the knower, or the I the ego, even I the mind, is doing the action of knowing the object, which is the blue sky. Instantaneously, it's happening. Reality is created instantaneously like that. We can roll the flames, man. Oh, now it matters what science says. If that's the case, there's no point of talking, that's really what it is. That's really what it is. There's no point of talking, because talking points are for communication. And if you understand communication, communication is using words that ultimately don't describe the thing that it actually is. Which is why you got some that shut the fuck up and sit the fuck back and say nothing. Because once you understand all words are false, but these words can be used to point you into a direction, which is what we're doing. So it's like at that point, even what's the point of using words? What's the point of typing on the screen? And we don't even have to take it to science. We already took it to first person experience, which is what we've been doing the whole time. Optical illusion. Right here. We don't need to use science to prove that. That's happening day to day, firsthand, first person experience. We could have went through the what's the name of what science completely says about that. So now we to this, the myth of spiritual ignorance. So now we get back to the ultimate thing. Do we even lack? Do we even lack the knowledge? Do we even truly lack absolute knowledge? With the definition that we gave to absolute knowledge. So, are we ignorant of our true nature? Or is that just a superimposition that we placing on this I? I don't know. We are already what we looking for. We are already what we looking for. We merely suffer from an imaginary belief of our own absence. In our own absence, we think we lost something. We think we gotta gain something. But through this, damn, hold up. By way of this, by way of the mind projecting itself as three different things, which is all itself, we think there's something that we gotta get. We think as the knower there's something else to be known. But if you understand that you are the knower, in the action or the attention of knowing, which has the ing, is the acting aspect, to know something that is known, but you are ignorant of the fact that you and all the other two are the same exact thing. So what does that mean ultimately? Ultimately, all is Brahman. And then folks say, all is Brahman. There is nothing but God. Whichever concept you want to use, it's nothing but God. There's not a separate God. There's not a devil. There's not a separate human being. Which is hard for the mind to grasp and to accept. Rosa Flame, so what's the point of this conversation in the first place? To point in the direction. Forty Wallace says the eyes are easily deceived. Did Neo really bend the spoon? Did Neo really bend the motherfucking spoon? What bro say? The spoon don't even exist. There is no spoon. That's the real trick. That's the real trick. Is there a spoon? Cause plus be here, your role of that's even better. Happening has to be relative. I'm not relative. Facts. Well, says absolute knowledge. Let's get it, dog. Let's get this shit, dog. Thanks. Mothra. Oh no, Rosa Flame said Mothra. We already have it while I sit here and listen to what you already know. Hey, I don't know what you on today, bro. I don't know because we reading through what's the name. This could be an optical illusion. I don't know your intent. Really don't matter. But on the ultimate scale, it don't matter. Because if that's the case, then what's the point of even typing what you're typing? Let's continue. So we searching everywhere but the source itself. So this is one of those analogies that they like to use in the Advaita shit, or the Vedanta shit. The 10th man. So the story is there's 10 people crossing a river on a boat, right? And they get to the other side and then they count to make sure that everybody's still there. We got to make sure everybody's still on the boat. They count. One dude count and he don't count nothing but 9 people. I'm like, oh shit, we done lost somebody. Somebody dead and fell over. They done whoop the whoop, whoop the whoop. You may already be putting it together, right? But the point is the motherfucker forgot to count the source that is counting, the one that's doing the counting. You forget to observe the one that's observing, the one that's dictating, the one that's judging, the one that's this and the one that's doing that, the one that's saying this is good, the one that's saying this is bad, the one that's saying who, what, why, when, and where. We only care about the who, what, why, when, and where. Nobody goes back in and says, who is this one who's looking for the who, what, why, when, and where? So when you're doing the who, what, why, when, and where, that's when you're on your spiritual journey. Or so you've made yourself believe. That's when you're on your spiritual journey. Because you're looking for the who, what, why, when, and where, when the answer to your questions was actually never who, what, why, when, and where. Or it may be who. That's really about it. It's not who out there, it's who here. If that makes sense to you. So the point is to look back at the source. The source is the only truth here. All that shit out there is just projections, which we have been talking about and pointing out the whole 95 minutes we've been here. So that goes for any and everything. So that means this whole experience we having right now on this YouTube is only happening inside of that source. Nowhere outwardly. Nothing has happened outwardly. The 10th man was never lost on that boat. Therefore, he was never found. So what does that mean? There's nothing to actually gain. There's only something to realize. Like when Rosa Flame, what's the point of this? To point to something. To point to something. Because there's nothing that's lost. The mind can get reminded. Hey bro, what a bathroom at? This nigga go to the bathroom every day. He asks me what a bathroom at. Bathroom over there. Oh damn, I forgot. You need to be reminded. What are spiritual teachers doing besides reminding you? Some people may have different various ways, cooler ways, better ways, or worse ways that may or may not fit your temperament or your mind. But all these motherfuckers have been doing is pointing to what it is. That nigga Jesus. Maybe that nigga Muhammad. I ain't read enough of that book, of the Quran. So I can't say. But I know the Sufis, the Sufi Muslims. Done study on them. Never met a Sufi. But nonetheless, they gurus or teachers or mystics. Luan Velen Don Lee, whatever his name is. People like him. So-called people. They pointing you into the direction. That's the only thing that ever can and will be done. Because nobody can give you what so-called enlightenment is. Nobody's taking you to the bathroom. They can point you to where it is. So self-realization is only the removal of what you think you are. That's why they can't say they can't. We can't tell you what it is. Ultimately, we can't. We're going to use concepts, but you need to understand these concepts are not it itself. Ultimately, they're not. It's not what that is. What we're calling is ultimately not what it is. So all we can tell you is what it's not. And once you figure out what it's not, you take a look out again and you see, oh, it's every goddamn thing. Because it's coming from me, the source. It's coming from the source. Rosa Flame says, Gnosis, if it's not obvious to you all the love I have for you, then I ask in return, what are you on? Can I get your ass to hop? You want to hop on camera, man? I don't know what the hell you talking about. I'm not sure if you asking it the way I asked you, Or you asking am I on motherfucking drugs? I am hitting a vape. So that's what you mean. Wallace says full house, empty mind. Empty house, full mind. You know, first time I heard that was from the OG Bobby. So there's nothing to be sought out after. Here's the thing about it. Let me turn my camera on. Here's the thing about it. If there's nothing to be looking for, but here's the thing about it. You need to really know that. Like I was talking about trust the other day. You need to have the real trust, the knowing that that is the true reality from firsthand experience. Yes, it may be told to you from a YouTuber. Yes, it may be told to you from a book. Yes, it may be told to you from a spiritual teacher. By way how the mind received it, it's not the thing that's in question here. Is it real? Is it true? Is it not changing? Is it non-changing? The truth is that you observe your body. The truth is that you observe your mind. The truth is that you observe things that seem to be outside of you. But it's only this first person experience. And that's including all the senses. To know something doesn't just mean to read something. It's to feel something with the senses of feeling. It's to hear something with the senses of hearing. It's to taste something with the senses of tasting. So ultimately, if you already are what the fuck you supposed to be and what you trying to be, and you really have that conviction and know that and understand that, then you get to say, well, you can say what the fuck you want to say. Your mind, your mouth, your body can say your mouth can say what the fuck you want to say. But then you get to say, oh, I get it. Ain't none of this shit real. The traditions that people follow. So I can follow tradition if I want to. I can do what the fuck I want to. Because that's what the fuck is happening anyway. The thing that's doing is ran by nature. Nature is doing all of this. The mind, which is nature, is doing all of this. It's been doing what the fuck it want to do. Whether we want to give meaning to what's being done or not. You don't have to. And when you stop giving meaning to it, then you don't have detach from what? There's nothing to detach from. It's like, let me detach from this motherfucking IMAX theater movie. Or let me detach from this shit on my TV screen. When you get sucked into it, when you're completely using all the senses into it, just like a movie, you start to cry when you see what's her name get smoked on the baseball movie. Fuck it, I forgot. Baby G. When the attention is placed heavy on it like that, then you start to take it as a real deal, always continuous, never changing reality. Let me see some of these comments. He said, "Nah, I'm asking the way you asking. Yeah, I've been trying to, but you should focus on this right now. Let's plan to ASAP. All right, bet. We can hop on it." So when you understand that, then that's the end of it. That's the end of it. The truth that of the matter is that you are observing all of this shit. The truth of the matter is all that you really know. That's always constant is that I am. that I exist. Not what I exist as, not what I am, as in a person, place, or thing, but I know that I am. I know that I exist. That's why I say, oh, that's the end of the spiritual journey. That's it. That was the beginning, and it's going to be the end. The gurus are here to point you towards the way. Relative science is play. It's good for the illusion. It's relative. Yeah, shit relative, gang. You can do that shit. And see, and then when you talk, when it gets say you and I see this and you see this, but no, ain't no I, ain't no, hey, nigga, that's the only way you can talk. Because to have language, there has to be a duality. Because there has to be something separate to describe. But you gotta know how, you gotta be able to see around that trick of the mind is the point of this shit. Which is what they call discernment. Some people discern with their body-mind complex as if they are this limited space. Even in spirituality, some people discern with that limited space mind. They're letting the mind stop right there. But you got to discern this whole thing. Believe none of it. Believe none of shit that I've said here. Test it out. I tested it out. And continuously have, and continuously is this mind, this so-called human that's sitting before you, is testing it out. Test it out and see if that's really what the fuck happening. You don't need a book for that. You don't need a book for that. To constantly inquire or decipher through, what the fuck is this actually? Like I get vibrations, like I get monitoring, like I get spirits itself, and I get rituals, and I get, you know what I'm saying, this, and I get that. What the fuck really is this shit? And is this shit really doing anything to me outside of my mind? Is anything actually happening to me outside of my mind? Because even if I got smacked, or even I smacked the shit out you, would you know that it happened without the mind? Which is the point. How do you get to that knowing and know? Hold up. Let's see. How do you get from that nowhere to that known? Without this motherfucker up here, which is the source, which is the mind. The other three can't even exist, man. And the mind can't exist without being observed from its source. I definitely needed this. No way. Let's get real. And I realized that if I'm not standing on principle, then the other option is mental nonsense. That's it. Like, see, like, that's the thing about this shit. Once you know that, there's nothing else. It's like, bro, like, the mind is going to come up with problems. The mind is going to come up with, oh, man, it ain't this or it ain't that. Oh, man, we gotta. Let the mind do that and let the mind handle that. The thing here is the identification. The thing here is the identification. Because you think you are limited to that mind. Let the mind do that. Let the mind pick up the vape and hit it. Let your mind pick up your vegan dish and dish it out. Let the mind say, "Oh, the body needs to get back healthy." Okay, let's go on and do that. I understand what some of the gurus are saying about the body and the mind. Because if you understand it, there's no fight back and forth. I get it. If the body is, we're gonna use this analogy like I always use. If it's a fucking car, obviously you're not the fucking car. But some people get real butt hurt about their car. But if you got a car, ain't nothing wrong with taking care of the motherfucker. It's gonna break down eventually. That's what they do. But that's the end of that. You not the goddamn car. But ain't nothing wrong with taking care of it. And some people don't take care of it. So the fuck what? I know everybody here is past that. Everybody here knows, like, oh no, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody here knows whether they need to eat healthy or fucking not. Nobody thinks over here that you more spiritual because you eat healthier, or you're less spiritual because you don't eat healthier or as healthy as I do. Get your car goddamn oil change if you need an oil change, man. That's all I'm saying. Goddamn. For those. For those. So we understand that it's the source that we need to be searching for, which we already are. Or that we need to be putting attention on. Because there's no search for what you already are. There's no becoming what you already are. There's no spiritual teacher that's something that you are not. There's no trying to become more like this spiritual teacher or get it like this spiritual teacher is getting it. No, none of that. That's the trick of the mind again. There's no need to follow all the traditions of different traditions or people and try to mimic them consciously or unconsciously. Don't matter really. I'm just saying there's no need to. There's no need to. The only thing that we know is that I am. Gang? All this other shit you don't know for 100% fact because it's constantly changing. We've ran through the sciences by way of Rose of Flame, mathematics as well, even a little geometry, I guess. Through all of that shit. And the same shit goes along with spirituality. I don't give a fuck if a motherfucker bring up dimensions. We know that dimensions have to have measurements, which make it relative because it's limited. It's not continuous and never changing. Measurements change. And even the way that you can measure changes. So if we get into dimensions, like, come on, dimensions technically mean it has a limitation to it. So the mind has a million fucking dimensions in it. As long as you come up with another dimension, that motherfucker exists within your mind. The ever-changing mind. Because today the mind might say it's 7 dimensions. Tomorrow it might hear some shit and take in some shit and say, oh shit, no, it's actually 144 dimensions. My thing that I found in spirituality, bro, over all these years is, bro, how much shit do I need to fucking measure? How much signs and symbols do I need to fucking know? Need is the point here. Because there's nothing wrong with the mind having that knowledge of those things. It's just the only thing you need to know that is relative. It's only relative. So how much do I really need to know to become what I'm trying to become? To be what I'm trying to be, this God. Come to find out, none. All you need to know is recognize, recognize the sense of I. Like Coach DJ just said, the sense of I. All you gotta do is recognize that. But it seemed too goddamn simple. It seems too simple. It seems too motherfucking simple. But the trick about this I amness that you feel, and what you delete, Coop? Wallace said, I'm treating myself as a case study. Colin Pusby says, even good deeds or evil deeds are relative to some things, are relative to something to be good or evil. Facts. If I'm understanding what you're saying, right? It's only relative to something, to a thing, right? There has to be a separate thing for good and evil within its own context to exist. And it's only relative to the one who's observing, saying that it's good and evil. Because it's obviously somebody doing good and somebody thinks that it's evil. But not to them. Not to them. But this I am doesn't even require the mind. Other than no, Coop TGS deleted some roles of flame. He said for real, let's plan it because I've been trying to plan. Let's plan it because I'm only trying to be a pain in the ass to a certain extent, but not meaning to be ridiculous. Since I agree with you mostly, but you know I fuck with your Rose of Flame. But you know, still at the same time, goddamn it, trying to read shit and understand which way you saying it is two different things. That's why I told y'all, bro. I don't really like this chat shit. Like, nigga, let me see your face, nigga. What's up? Let me hear the tone of your voice to tell if you're serious. And I'm not specifically speaking on what you talking about, Rose of Flame. I'm talking about in general. Because when people get a story, when people talk their realization, or people talk about what they done been through or whatnot, when you hear it in them, they tone of voice. We're talking about Akasha. Now we talking about sound. You niggas hear my voice. You hear how serious or playful I am. With the limited amount of character, you can't tell without having to describe and explain yourself so much. You see what I'm saying? Like when you writing, you have to do a lot of explaining. More than your average explaining. But that's just an observation of how this shit worked out here. But nonetheless, this I am doesn't require otherness. We know it directly, even in the total absence of the world during deep sleep, aka dreamless sleep. You know that I am. You know that I am. You know that you are. You know that. Ain't nobody gotta tell you that. You don't need the mind to intellectually break down that. That's the only thing you know for a fact that is not changing. You know you exist. You probably don't know what you are. You probably don't know where you are. You don't know if you're on a flat plane or inside a computer game. But you know you are. Kyle Puzzle Piece said, I really like to get on some live action. And I wish. Let's see. Can you do it on here? No, I need you though, Colin Puzzle. Colin Puzzle been saying he wanted to. So, but no, we definitely gonna do it though, bro. We most definitely gonna do it. We gotta get the live interaction shit going on. That's what I like. I can't lie to you. Sitting here talking to words on the goddamn chat. I don't know what the fuck. But that's me. Everybody else might not be the same. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I'm with that up close and personal shit, nigga. What's happening? What's up? It's the I am meeting the I am type shit. But so diagnosing consciousness, mind versus the self, aka consciousness. Here's the mind. Its nature is a compound. I am, not just I am, but I am this body. I am this person. I am this man, this woman. I am this God. The mechanism, the mechanism of the mind is object knowing, which requires otherness, something separate. We got to understand the illusion starts with separation. And what is separation? What we talked about in the Dark Veil Lifted video. Things that are quantifiable, things that can be measured. There has to be, for an illusion, there has to be things that so-called can be measured for an illusion to exist, because there has to be limitations to things. There has to be limitations. That's the only way illusionary works. Which, in Top with Shooter, what did they say Maya is? A limiting force. What is Bina? A limiting force. Actually, if you ask me, Kether is the first limiting force. It's the fractal point. It's the prism, which that nothingness or aim so far projects itself through. And then you get the rest of the tree. So it breaks up things to create the illusion, or to even set the foundation for an illusion to be created in the way that we perceive it. It's structure. The structure of the mind is fractured and it's dualistic. And it's split up between the knower, knowing, the action, and the thing that is known. And its validity, relative truth. It changes between the waking and the dream state. In the dream state, you may be able to fly on green bubbles. I don't know if you niggas have had that dream, but I've had it. In a dream, I'm able to fly in green bubbles. They just pop up out the goddamn sky from nowhere. And I just hop in them and I go around. Now I got flying powers. In a dream, I get shot, the shit don't hurt, and I never die. Maybe a difference for this body inside of this motherfucker. Or maybe it's not. But you know. The laws of physics change in fucking dreams. I've been a old white man before. So when we're dealing with the mind, that's the nature, that's the mechanism, that's the structure, and that's its validity. Anything that you learn with the mind is relative truth, including all spiritual knowledge. Everybody won't tell you that. We've said it over here a million times, including all of it. It's only relative. So you use the relative to be pointed to. You use the relative to be pointed to the absolute. What did we say at the beginning? The beginning of this slide says to escape the illusion or something like that. To escape the illusion, you need the illusion. So to get outside of the mind, you need the mind. So you need the relative to point you to the absolute. So like Rosa Flame said earlier, what's the point? The point is this: to use the relative to point to the absolute. Not to give you the absolute, because no one can give you the absolute, because you're already the absolute, but sometimes you forget. Sometimes the mind get caught up in the relative truth. And keep skipping over the absolute truth. The absolute truth. That's what this shit is about. The absolute truth. That which that does not change. Because the nature of the self, or the I am, is fundamental consciousness. The I am. before this body. Before I say I am this body, I'm just the I am, right? Mechanism. What's the mechanism, so called? It's self knowing, it's independently whole. It's not resting on nothing. It doesn't have resting bitch face. It's self knowing, it knows itself. That's the only way the sense of I am can even come apart because it knows itself. Structure is unified, it's not two. There's no subject and object split in consciousness. Awareness is not splitting up. It's watching, it's observing, it's aware of the things that are splitting up, which is the mind. The knower, the known, and the knowing. Its validity is the absolute truth. It's permanent in all three states. This is what I'm saying. You get to this point, you have to understand. Listen, you need to observe your first hand direct experiences, which is waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. Discern through them. You don't need to know every motherfucking God symbol in every book, and every word, and every quote. You don't need to. You can, but you don't need to. You need to discern through those states of the mind. Because you are the observer of all of them states. That self, that I am, is observing all three of those states. And it has not changed through any of them. Now, the way that they use consciousness in psychology and science is going to be different. They got to keep it on a material level because you can't measure the I am. You can't measure consciousness. There is no tool to measure. It's permanent in all three states. Coop says, I seen you in a dream, you in and away, you peace and calling peace to the crowd. Oh, that what's up, Coop. That what's up. I bet I had a vape in that motherfucker too. Chiquino22 says, talking about in person, my gnosis was at the Pan Porter event, Brother Panic event. Oh, damn. I gotta see your what's the name, Chiquino? Damn, you was at Brother Panic shit? Okay. Hell yeah, you know, man, come on, man. See, you know what I'm saying? Nigga, like, hey, man, that's just tradition. You show love to them OGs, bro. How could I not for a nigga who's been there and pointed me? Who pointed me? And, you know, I'm from Tennessee, so Atlanta wasn't number down the street. I'm in Nashville. That went number 4 hours away when I was in Nashville. That went number 4 hours away. Hell yeah, I'm pulling up on Panic. I probably could have been on the other side of the country. Khadijah and them gave us ample amount of time to book a flight. Hell yeah, I'm going to the one that pointed me to the direction of who I really am. I was fucking lost. Y'all know a nigga story in the streets and shit. So, hell yeah, I'm going to show love to the OG. But damn, bro. That had to be an in-person gold moment. And spoke at that motherfucker. Damn, bro, you really was there, bro. Chiquino, you was really there. So you remember me even speaking at that motherfucker. Damn. Had to. And at that time, I wasn't on no YouTube shit, no none of that, bro. I had not done none of that shit. I didn't come into this motherfucker to try to do that. Oh, you seen footage? Hey, where is that footage at? Where is that footage, Chiquino? Bro, if you don't follow me on IG, Instagram, that is IG, ain't it? Bro, send me a DM, bro. Chiquino, send me a DM. I have not seen that footage. I didn't even know that footage. I didn't even know footage existed of that night. I'm gonna be quite 100. Sitting with you. Because I'm going to tell you, I was having that inner thought. Yeah, bro, you got to send me a DM, bro. I don't know if you're saying you got to find my social or the video. But yeah, hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah. Cause nah, that was a dope ass night, bro. I respect the shit out that night. How we sent Panic out, but Panic Alta was like a goddamn boy. And we talking about like on some spiritual, multi-dimensional planes of existence and shit. But that man got sent off with some love for real. Even though the body had already passed way before then. It had to by the time we did that pan portal shit. The offerings on that nigga table was lit. Shout out to the OG Pan, man. But yeah, Chiquino, bro, please DM me, bro. Even if you ain't found it, goddamn it, I know you'll run across it one day. I'm like, oh yeah, let me send this to No Way. So DM me, bro. Colin Pusby says, I've noticed that when I say I am, I feel it in my chest. Facts. No, real shit. Same experience. Same experience. And then I even get to the, playing the tester. Just do it without saying it. Because you get that feeling in your chest to just start coming. That feeling that you feel would just start fucking coming, bro. And that's what I be talking about when we talking about being silent and looking for the silence. That's a trick of the mind of looking for the silence. When you just recognize that silence, which you are, is always there. It's already there. I ain't gonna say no more. You just know. Like, oh, I'm not actually looking or trying to force my mind to be quiet. That's not how it works. It's the recognition that the background is silence. Always has been and always will be. That's how it has been, and that's how it always will be, gang. You know what I'm saying? Like this when we really talking about like all the shit that I learned spiritually, bro, it's like, okay, this shit is just play. Next, Chris Johnson said, this is my first time here with y'all. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Cosmic Principle Pushers. We ain't really a group because we all one. Literally. Welcome, welcome, welcome. But that silence, like what Chris just said, oh, let's see what Shakino said. You speaking, you were speaking on some truth. You broke down the darkness and how it's the self. You went in. See, that what I'm saying? I don't even remember what I said. That's what I was trying to tell you. I don't remember what I said at Brother Penny shit. I just let that shit flow. There was no script written, no shit like that. Shit, I was debating if I was gonna even go up there and talk. I'm like, shit, bro. I already appreciate the nigga on this level, this, and that. But some just said go up there. Man, you know what? Fuck that. Let me get my ass up here and speak in my nigga Brother Panic shit. Whatever the fuck came out. I do remember I said something about when he broke down basically how he was still doing his shadow work. Shit, nigga already been teaching 20 goddamn years. He broke down the shadow work he had to go through with Khadijah. You right, Coop. I should. I probably should. That's a good recommendation. I got you. Let the mind remember that so I can do that. You right though. But you know what I'm saying? Like when shit just flow like that, it's like not even no conscious. That was a conscious act of getting up there and talking. But what came out was just flowing. Like I was telling y'all on the live stream the other day. There's no conscious thought. As a matter of fact, they brought that up inside the little think piece from psychology now from the neurosciences. It's like the sciences are bringing that shit up, but they can't leave it to something that can't be measured because that's what science is based off of. We have to measure if we can't measure, if you can't observe consciousness, all they can tell you is what's going on with neuron flashes in the brain and this and that, but they can't tell you why you like the color red. They can tell you when you see the color red, oh, this neuron flashes. Your neuroplasticity changes, but they can't tell you why or what it's like to be you when you experience red. See what I'm saying? When you see red, when you hear Tupac song, when you taste your favorite lasagna that your meemaw used to make. They stop it at what they can't measure. And the farthest they can measure is the brain. And play around with the mind. But nonetheless, man, my nigga Zero to Mexico, hero in this motherfucker. I don't know if I said shout out to you, but I'm shouting you out now, gang. It's been months, but I'll find the footage. Okay, bro, appreciate that, bro. Cool, just, yes, and make a playlist. You was using profanity like a motherfucker. You toned down now. Oh, you think I didn't tone down? Damn, okay. I ain't even know, bro. I ain't even know I toned down. Yeah, I definitely speak profanely. And I'll be telling folks, bro, like, I ain't started this shit when I started. What's the name? I've been doing that shit. I get that shit. You know, that's a pattern that's been placed by way of the surroundings. I was around. I gotta tell folks, boy, my dad and then the way they talk, boy, shit, shit. I damn near speak like a, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think there actually exists cuss words. And then I was tipsy that night too, bruh. Yeah, back then I was definitely tipsy. Nigga don't drink to this day, but still. When I say drink, I mean really drink, nigga. I don't go to the store and get no bottle. But at the event, they had liquor, so I go to an event, they got some liquor. Yeah, y'all got some brown. I'm finna hit it. Give me a cup of that brown. I think we had Crown that night. Silence is also not truly silence because the universe is in constant motion. It's just quieting the mind so you can hear the universal vibrations and symphony. I can rock with that. I ain't got nothing against that at all. Cause like I remember like I said a while back, like bro, if you think about silence, how can you really know what the fuck silence is? Silence has to have a fucking sound for you to be able to hear silence. Think about that. That's the that's the bullshit of words. You see what I'm saying? While words ultimately are all false. Because if the truth will have to be silence. Because in the background of sound, there has to be silence so you can hear the sound. And then if you want to focus on the silence, it got to not be the way that we think silence is. Because how the fuck else can we identify silence? And when I started questioning that on my own, I'm like, if that's the case, what the fuck is up with all this keep the mind silent shit that I done heard? Quiet the mind. What the fuck does that really mean? I ain't even got the camera on. What the fuck does that really mean? Like, what are they really saying? And I forgot who I heard it from, bro. But no, I said the shit. When I used to listen to Bobby and Panic, I used to adapt to what? Let me try to place the mind in that state for them to. What type of state do they have to be in? What type of realization? Let's just use state, which means what type of realization they will have to be in this state. But what type of state do they have to be in to say the shit that they're saying? No, I hear what they're saying, and it's profound, and it's what's the name, and it's, you know what I'm saying? Most definitely it is that. But what state does that mind have to be in for Brother Pennick or Bobby or any teacher that I find my mind to be attracted to by way of what they're saying and how they say it. Because there are other teachers who talk real holy. And let us breathe, brothers and sisters. We are the one. I might even listen to some shit like that, but shit like this is, what I'm saying. So, what state of mind did they could they have, could they be in to say the type of shit that they saying? It's not really about what they saying. Nah, facts cause puzzle piece. Even peace is an illusion. Because for you to have peace, there has to be the opposite of peace. So if there's two, then we know that's an illusion. That's it right there, Coop DGS. I think silence the minds means your reaction and identification with the thoughts. That's it. The motherfuckers gonna keep showing up. That's what I've noticed. That's what I had the realization of. And that's what I've discerned through. Is like, oh, that's what state they have to be in. I get it. They keep dropping these gems, and I see what's going on in spirituality. People are lingering and holding on to the actual words. You should listen to the words. Like, listen and give attention to those words. But you have to know the background of the words. And you have to see what frame it's being placed and stated in. The gems continuously being dropped. That's why you can say one day this and the next day say that. And they be like, hold up, you said this last time. You haven't picked up on it yet. What's really being said here? This is why they called it chaos, as we exposed in the dark veil lifted. Because you think you're going to try to trap it or track it with some type of method. One day it can be 100% this, the next day it can be 100% that. But what's the framework here, though? Oh, it's the identification with this body. It's the identification with this mind and these thoughts and these emotions. Those thoughts and emotions is going to keep fucking coming. That's what they do. That's the nature of that motherfucker. Let it continue to do that. But oh, I'm not this body or those thoughts. The thought of I am this nigga sitting in this chair is not real. It's relative. It's constantly changing. The person that thing that says I am this nigga in this chair is not constant. It's changed from childhood all the way up to the 30s. And it's changing right now. About to become a father. Like, this body and mind is about to become a father. You see how weird that is to talk like that? Like, who wants to sit and talk all day about this body and mind is about to have a child, y'all? That's the reality of it. But, like, you don't have to talk like that. Some people want to talk like that because they're eating up the words and not getting the realization of them. They're not getting what the words are pointing to. You thinking it is the words. It's what it's pointing to. And once you have realization of what it's pointing to, whoop-de-doo. Whoop-de-fucking-doo. Continue and let the elements play. And let me see. Zero says, yes, even the state of being aware is illusionary. Because awareness is not a state. It's not a state. It is what we are every moment. But for the lack of language, we use the word state. Because the words ultimately can't describe it. And that, see how we keep, for those who are new, who just hearing this, or just those who being reminded. there's gems being dropped here. That's the word we like to use. It's gems being dropped here. It's just something for you to notice. It sounds confusing, but it's actually the most simple shit ever. Now, if I was trying to remember what those orange things, what those sweets are called right there, and if I was trying to remember why he had the trident on his in the middle of his forehead, and why one of the goddamn tusk is broken, and what that tattoo down his goddamn elephant trunk is, and why it's green right there and orange or red back there. Some folks, now that's simple. I can remember that. Or we can just leave it straight to the motherfucking point. And what does that shit really mean? So what does he really represent? The removal of obstacles. Okay, what obstacles? You can talk about some worldly shit or the obstacles of the mind, which is what it always is anyway. The obstacles that the five elements put before so-called the mind, which the mind is projecting itself. That's a whole nother thing. But what is it really doing? What is it really talking about? The removal of obstacles, the removal of ignorance. What we're talking about here, the removing of thinking that you are this body and the mind only. You are far beyond that. It's way easier to remember. Now, the realization of it is something totally different. But the words, do not get lost in the words. Mothra says, hanging on to the words. Boom. That's it. It's so hard for people to get that one truth. That's it, man. And you start getting past what people are saying. You see what I'm saying? You really see what they're pointing at. Like, I see certain spiritual videos now, and it's like, this is not any shot at anybody, but a lot of that shit just don't do it for me no more. You know what I'm saying? By the time I got to panic, certain shit other shit wasn't doing it no more. By the time when I first ran into Bobby Hemming, which I ran into first, other shit wasn't doing it for me no more. Just like when you think you are all spiritual now, and you want to the deep dark side or whatever, the Christian shit ain't doing it for you no more. The basic reality of it is not doing it for you no more. So certain shit just got to a certain point where it just wasn't doing it for me no more. I'm like, sometimes I may feel like the mind may want to be entertained with some alien shit. Real or not, it's real in a relative world if it is. If it's false in a relative world. I entertain it. When I say entertain it, I'm saying that because it's ultimately not going to change the nature of who I am. So if aliens do pop up, the nature of this body and his mind may change, but it's not going to change the observer who's observing me looking and interacting with aliens. So what's the point? I can watch and learn that shit. Ain't nothing wrong with that shit. But I know what's really happening, gang. Zero says the Dark Veil lifted the best video on the entire YouTube. That one changed my life forever. Salute to you, Zero, the Mexico hero. They say Kabbalah is so complex and never ending. Cool TGS says they say the Kabbalah is so complex and never ending because you're supposed to get to the point that you realize it's all just an illusion. And shout out to Trav for putting a nigga on that. Obviously, a nigga knew about the Kabbalah, obviously being a part of the cult, but it wasn't no study for me. It wasn't no study for me. My teacher just made small and mere mentions of it. Now I go back and watch old videos Bobby Hemming. He pouring out Da'af, Ashe, Bina, Ashe, Ketha, Ashe, Malkuth, Ashe, Ain, Ashe, Ain so, Ashe, Ain so far, Ashe. Oh, that's what all of that shit was. You know, and Panic will throw it in here or there. But my teacher didn't focus on it. I came by way of knowledge of that obviously all y'all know through Trav, and that motherfucker's a Kabbalah master. You wanna go know the real shit about Kabbalah? I will go to fucking. I'm going to fucking Travis and fucking Mages. Yeah, that's who the fuck I go to. But by way him putting me on that, and I went deep study into that, it became apparent to me. Oh, don't nothing exist outside of Aang so far. So let me focus on getting what the fuck is this Aang so far shit, which is how we birthed the Dark Veil Lifted video. What is this chaos shit? What is this darkness shit? What is this unmanifest? And we got to make sure what we're saying about unmanifest, because different systems may give a different degree or title or description of what the unmanifest is. Like, oh, don't none of this shit exist outside of that. So let me stick my ass here and understand this. That's why now I can say with confidence, well, actually, Kether is the first illusion, the beginning of the matrix of the illusionary. By way of it receiving and breaking down and then pushing out Aang so far, it's a feminine principle from the aspect of Aang so far. So now, instead of looking from Malkuth up, you look from Aang so far down. And now, this is what I'm saying. This is exactly what I'm saying about getting that perspective of what state they're in. So if I'm looking from the perspective of Aang so far, I'm going to see all of this shit different. But if I'm looking from the perspective of Malkuth, I'm going to think, wow, it's all of this. But if I realize Aang so far and Malkuth, or Kether and Malkuth are the fucking same, then am I looking at it from Malkuth's perspective or am I looking at it from Aang's perspective? I'm simultaneously looking at it from both. That's why I can say, okay, yeah, that's truth, but it's just relative truth. That's real, but, it's ultimately not. That's why you get to talking like this. Yeah, that's real, but ultimately, it's really this. So once you really get it, you start talking from that perspective. You can talk from Malkuth and Aang so far. Or Tifrith or whatever. But I'm just using those as an example. The so-called highest and the so-called lowest. On the front side of the tree. No difference with the back side. No fucking difference. With the clip off. No difference. So that's why language can get confusing. Especially when you're reading. But now I have that true understanding and knowing for a fact, oh, that's what it is. Oh, that's what it is. Ain't so far. Ain't so far game. AKA Cosmic P game. AKA nothing game. AKA all this false game. AKA all this love game. AKA ain't nothing real gang. AKA darkness. AKA big forehead gods. AKA ain't shit to worry about. AKA I am. AKA shut the fuck up. Let's see what these chats say. Oh yeah, Zero. Tell everybody about that video of those different self-realized people. You remember we had the one where the dude, one of them became a guru by goddamn it, just indulging in all the five senses, getting drunk, fucking prostitutes, writing poems, getting high, doing everything that all spiritual teachings say don't do. And then the one about that other Krishnamurti. And then it had Maharaj in there. Maharashi in there. And that's what I'm talking about, bro. It's just so, bro. It's so many ways for the mind. It's so many paths to the same shit. Let's just play with that word. Let's go ahead and use it. I've been trying to stay away from it. But you have to speak in relative language that more people understand. So there are paths that take you the total opposite way of what all spiritual systems say. I don't give a fuck. All of them. Just about every last one of them tell you not to overindulge in the five senses. You got one who did everything. Wasn't an upright standing person. Motherfucker said, fuck those people in the basically, he didn't say fuck them. But one dude was like, basically, fuck them people in the ashram, the levels that you got to go up through and start here and do all of that. I'd rather go out and fuck with the people on the so-called lower level. I'd rather be around the junkies. I'd rather be around the drunks. I'd rather be around them and talk this shit and be on this type of shit. And that's how I am. That's why I talk the way I talk. Everybody ain't gonna fuck with it. I've been talking like this, so I'm gonna keep talking. I come from around drunks, drug addicts, gangbangers, robbers, prostitutes. I'd rather be around them. I don't want to be up there dressing a certain way and changing the way that I dress and for the spiritual look. I'd rather be around that. You niggas smoke, cool. You pop pills, don't care. Snort powder, got nothing to do with me. Don't get shit around my nose. I'm gonna smoke my vape, and if you have a little beer, I may even sip your beer with you. I might even sip a brew with you. Sip a old brew with you. Not with all that trying to be uppity, high and mighty, and now I'm also not overindulgent, but the point of me making this statement is there's people who went the overindulgent path and rejected every spiritual teaching that ever existed and didn't believe none of it and still came to the same conclusion. I'm not this body and I'm not this mind. So what you gonna do? Let's see. If someone is interested in watching stories about spiritual master realizing peace, look for. Oh, is that the one? That's the video. Is that the video? Zero. Have excellent content with my noting this content in that, man. Martha says, I think that some people have a bad reaction to a way of redundant because they can't let go of their self concepts. For others, letting that shit go is like dropping a fucking heavyweight. Nah, that's facts. That's facts, bro. And when I listen to people who have criticized and talked about it on certain levels, I get it. Because when you go to the Advaita Vedanta level of more like the tradition versus what the teachings are actually saying, actually is two different things. So if you're trying to go the cultural route and the traditional route, okay, I get it. I'm not against it. There's nothing I'm really ultimately against, but I get it. Because what the teachings are saying and what the tradition is So people who don't go the traditional route, it seems to be what people are calling neo-Advaitin. I'm not sure if that's what a motherfucker would want to call me. I remember that dude that came on here and said it one time, though, but, I mean, nigga, like, man, I didn't even have that talk. Especially, anyway. But yeah, this shit like dropping heavy weight off. Real shit. All the shit you thought you had to do spiritually. The pitch black or pure blackness is light, so intense that for your perception, it looks black. Exactly. From our perception, it looks black. And everybody can look around and agree, oh yeah, that's black. But we all have the same limited ways of measuring that light, which is why it ultimately shows up black to us. So that's only relative that is actually darkness. The darkness is actually light. Zero said nothing is true. Everything is permitted. Big P's. When I look at that video with them lectures you did here about them, man, my notes is everything. Damn, man, my notes is everything fits. Cool teacher said all things lead to the center of town. Let's see if we finish this off. Let me know if y'all want to actually go over this. Hold up. Run through some of this psychology shit. Let me know if y'all actually want to go over this because the presentation basically done, y'all. Just something to put together. Hold up. Okay, screen share. Boom. Oh no, that's not that. It's that. Boom. I think the presentation basically over. So let's finish this off. Let me know if y'all want to go in the chat if y'all want to go over that think piece, that report piece from the psychology today, dealing with neuroscience and consciousness and they new studies and they new finds. Let me know in the chat. I'm gonna continue with this. So it'll say the thing about it here is about turning your attention inward. The true knowledge is achieved when the mind gives up external objects and chooses to know its own form of light, that darkness, its own form of light. We use the mind's power of attention, but we reverse its trajectory, right? So that's why we use the illusion. We use the illusion to get out of the illusion. Hint, hint. We use the mind to get out of the mind. So we use the power of the mind's attention with reverse, but we reverse the trajectory of it. We stop pointing it at the fractured illusion of duality. So we stop pointing at objects. We stop looking at different gods, goddesses, paths. Oh, he doing the right thing. He doing the wrong thing. This the truth. This the false. He's a false teacher on that type shit. He's a false teacher. He's a true teacher. He's deceiving people. He's not deceiving people. He's doing this. He's not. We stop looking at all that. We stop looking at all the dimensions and all the heavens. We said, fuck that. And let's rest solely on the pure feeling of I am. The pure sense of I am. And we gave plenty talks through this chat and over this YouTube about that. The fact remains that you are the absolute truth, my nigga. You the truth. We the truth. When I say we, I mean I. For those that get it, you get it. When the mind ceases to demand duality, it dissolves into the infinite reality of your own self-conscious being. That is what's happening when Ramana Maharishi says, inquire on this I. I am like this, I am like that. I don't like this, and I don't like that. Who is this I? Who the fuck is this I? And when you keep looking for this I, this mind, you won't never get it. Which is another reason why I wanted to go over this here. That right here. Who want to read it? We'll read it. We'll run through it real quick. See what we can decipher up out of. Y'all let me know. If I see something in the chat that say yes, all I need is 2 people to say yes. 2 people say yes, we're going to continue and finish this shit on off. What's happening? Been on here 2 hours. What's happening? Y'all want to do it or not? Where do your thoughts come from? Y'all should know already, though. If you ain't hit that like button, please hit that like button. If you ain't hit that like button, please hit that like button. Mothra says yes. I need one more answer. Who gonna answer? What the rest of the folks standing on principle at, man? We can run through this. Cool TJ said yes, and Mothra says yes. Them OGs, I gotta listen to OGs. Zero's a OG, I gotta listen to the OG. Let's do it. So we ran through the first part, but since some people weren't here, we're gonna run through it again. Where do your thoughts come from anyway? For those who just joined, who don't know, who never followed this channel, we do have a video talking about monitoring spirits. And we can talk about the monitoring spirits, which is just thoughts, which thoughts just purely, solely exist. They are the five elements, running amok, running around, having fun, playing games. It's the elementals that are the thoughts. The mind is elementals. The mind is nothing but thoughts. But let's see what science says about the mind. So, where do your thoughts come from anyway? Here's their key points. We'll go through them. It can feel like your thoughts, like our thoughts, along with all the sensory inputs and data our brains and bodies receive each day, are processed in the same central location. Like we each have our own Wizard of Oz in our heads, who sifts through our unconscious and conscious thoughts and presents us with a unified story for how life is here in Oz. So it's something that's making it seem continuous. This is what the mind does. The mind receives information based off of what? What do they say here? They're not saying it directly, but the mind receives its inputs from the sensory organs. It receives the information from the sensory organs. And it comes out, like we showed, that the triad of the knower, the known, and knowing, it gets filtered through those as if it's something separate. Right? The man behind the curtain feels like us. It feels like we are those thoughts that have been sifted and sorted by the great wonderful Oz. The great wonderful Oz is your ego. Matter of fact, now that I think about it, ain't that when Panic broke that shit down, ain't that basically what he was saying? The Wizard of Oz was nothing but the ego. This little puny thing that acting like it's this big dog and acting like it run a show and acting like all that it says is the truth. And have you thinking this and that. It's nothing but the ego. Or it's nothing but the mind. There's an anecdote often attributed to Burton Russell. I thought I got one of Burton Russell's books that Daniel Dennett references in his book called Consciousness Explained, and that helps absolve us of the illusion of the man behind the curtain. So, as a professor is giving a lecture and a student volunteers that our planet is actually situated on the back of a turtle instead of floating in infinite space. The professor asks, what is the turtle standing on? And the student responds confidently, oh, it's turtles all the way down. When Dennett connects this phrase to consciousness and the idea of what's called homunculus, let's see what that word means. Homunculus. The fuck does the word mean? It's a noun, but it don't tell you what it means. Homunculus. Let's look it up. Let's ask Siri. Well, it tells you what it means. But homunculus is a alchemical miniature human being. Oh, a miniature human being. Okay. Similar to what I described with my Wizard of Oz metaphor. It means there's a central control in our brain. See, they're going to always push it back to the brain, right? They're going to always push it back to the brain because that's the farthest they can go, actually. But just watch it. There would have to be a central command controlling the first center and one controlling the second. So there will have to be one controlling the first center and another controlling the second, and on to infinity. Now, that goes back to what people have been saying about, oh, we really in another dimension projecting down here and seeing this and seeing that, and we actually doing this and we actually doing that. Let me turn the camera back on. Because it says there will have to be a central command controlling the first center and one controlling the second center, and on to infinity. So when you're talking about we really on a higher dimension projecting down in a lower dimension, there's one control. Okay, I gotta keep going up. I gotta keep going up. I gotta keep going up. I gotta keep going. Eventually, just having to keep going up and measuring so many goddamn dimensions. When we forget about who is the one that's observing the whole dimensions, all of them. That's why I say you can get lost in the intellectual shit. You can get lost in trying to break down all the conspiracies and understand every spiritual system. Let's get back. So, Turtles all the way down debunks how we tend to think of how we think. It debunks how we tend to think of how we think. It debunks how we tend to think of how we think. There's a central source making sense of everything, and that the central source is us. Us as in the ego. Cartesian theater. Let's see. Then it calls this feeling that there's essential locations or homunculus controlling consciousness. The Cartesian theater because Rene Descartes, a 17th century French philosopher, which I've read about him, popularized the idea of a center of our sorting our thoughts. There's a center for sorting our thoughts. Descartes famously said, "I think, therefore I am." But what if it's actually the opposite way around, which I think it is? What if it is, "I am, therefore I think"? So because I'm aware that I am, or because I exist, now I think. It's actually backwards. Tell me what y'all think. Maybe that sound right to y'all, but I would say you have to exist before you can think. Because you have to think to come up with the words "I am." Or to come up with the words "think." Though this version was in French, even though the word was in French, Descartes famously said, "I think, therefore I am," and saw the mind and body as two distinct and separate entities. The Cartesian theater idea points that our thoughts and therefore our very selves originate from something within our brain that monitors and makes sense of all inputs. Unfortunately, it's Cartesian theaters all the way down. Is what they're saying. The multiple draft model. I think this is the final model. Daniel Dennett offered an alternative theory to the Cartesian theater. His multiple draft model theory is that there isn't a centralized location for creating consciousness. Now we gotta understand, what do these folks mean when they say consciousness? Let me read. Who says Descartes was so close? I agree, no way. He definitely got it backward, as the Western mind always does. That's why I listened to one said Descartes don't want too far as we're talking about the first Buddha. He said empty is the world, empty is the mind and self. Mm. So instead, there are multiple complicated processes happening all at once. Now, don't that sound like what we just ran through? Let me see. Don't that sound like what we just ran through? Boom. Let's go back. That sounds like what we just ran through. Processes happening simultaneously. Right there. The knower, the knowing, and the known. It's happening simultaneously. You're deleting, you're generalizing, and you're distorting simultaneously. I'm not saying that's the exact thing what he's saying, but I'm saying that there is a simultaneous three process happening all at once. Rogers, Thomas, and Sattva are happening simultaneously. That's all we saying. He said instead there are multiple complicated processes happening all at once. That's what we just said. Boom. Let's get back to it. The feeling of an organized, orderly sense of the world, and therefore of our very place in the world, is a trick of the brain. They won't say mind, but they will say brain. So the feeling of an organized, orderly sense of the world, and therefore our very place in the world, is a trick of the brain, or as I would say, the mind. It's making you believe that it's all continuous in one. It's just like a movie. When you're watching a movie, you don't notice that it's fucking pictures. It's 150 pictures in a second. But to you, it seems continuous. It doesn't seem like pictures. From your perspective, you're fucking right. But when your understanding grows, it's like, oh, what the fuck? That's crazy. That's how an illusion works. So even though it seems like you're continuously having thoughts, there is a pause between those thoughts. There's a silence in the background of those thoughts that's continuous. And that's what self-realization is. You're realizing that you are that background silence. I don't know, man. Maybe y'all hearing it. Maybe not. So if I give you this text to read, look what it say, y'all. If I give you this text to read, here it goes. Maybe the multiple draft model makes more sense than we want it to. Your brain can make sense of it. For those who not reading it, it's one of those sentences that doesn't have all the words, all the letters in each word. So all the letters are not in each word. But that's the point he's trying to make. Your brain can make sense of it still. It feels the missing pieces to give the illusion of more order than there actually is. So this is what I'm saying. This is your direct experience right here. If y'all are reading this, if y'all reading this shit, this is your direct experience. You seeing it right here, right now. How the mind does these tricks. So we know we can't depend on the mind for ultimate knowledge. All motherfucker can do is point me to him. All the motherfucker can do is point you to it. All a guru can do is point you to it. All a book can do is point you to it, or point you further away from it, depending on what you're reading. Direct experiences. Straight up. Let's get back to it. But it is not homunculus or central command center doing the ordering. He said it's not a central command center doing the ordering. Multiple processes are happening all the time. But the order and organization of your thoughts come by your brain taking shortcuts and not from a centralized center of consciousness. So you know what way they talk about consciousness is if it's just something physical that can be measured. But the truth of the matter is these multiple processes are happening simultaneously. And the truth of the matter is that it is coming from this central controller that we can call the mind. These spontaneous what's the names are happening within the one, the aka the mind, the ego, the intellect, the chitta, the manas, the analytical process. So the spiritual teachings have broken it down to all those processes, but if they sum it up, they just call it the mind or they call it the ego. So we can sum it up, just call it the mind and ego. But if you want to break it down, we can go into the analytical process, the memory, the intellect, the ego. And remind me if I'm missing something else. Cool T just said perception is a game of fill in the gaps and connect the dots. Facts. There goes your intellect. There goes your analytical process. It's happening it's happening simultaneously all at the same time. But when you step back and watch it, this is what we're talking about with who am I? Self-inquiry. When you step back and watch it and turn inward and see what the game the mind is actually playing. The end of the motherfucking spiritual journey. Because you have to apply that to everything. Not just, oh man, Donald Trump ain't real, he an illusion. Not on some escapism shit. I don't really want to be a part of that. Not because you really feel like you was left out in a way you didn't fit in. Not that. Not just that. We don't leave it there. We take it all the way through all the spiritual shit. Don't say now because you really sick of the word and you got bullied and all of that. And now you found spirituality now, but all the dark gods and demons are real. No. Take this shit all the way through. Take that shit through all the gods and goddesses as well. Take that same discernment through it. Because you can't know about a god, demon, or a spiritual path or none of that shit without a mind. And you can't know the mind without the observer, without the source of the mind. The knower of the knower. The knower of the meditator. The farthest of the farthest, but the closest of the closest. The hearing of the ear, the hearer of the hearing, the taster of the taster, the source of it all. Hey, no, facts, Coop TJ, you not separate from Trump. And then what's the Lil Russell dude? The Lil Russell rapper, when he said even Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump come from God too. But they ate his ass up with that. They say he ain't even come back to social media with that. I've been saying the same shit over here. Ain't no separation. You ain't separate from Trump. You ain't separate from the fuck. You ain't separate from fucking Jeffrey Epstein. But you can't take that though. Why? You're in applying the right discernment through it. What you really believe in is there's a spiritual hierarchy. And you're part of it because you're not doing what the Illuminati's doing. You're the one that the Illuminati is doing it too. Woo hoo woo. Come on, man. Let's finish this off. Cognitive neuroscience and brain systems. Recent brain scans add further support to Dennett's multiple draft model of consciousness. It's like, fuck is you gonna scan consciousness? Like, how? Even with the basic understanding, like, oh man, whatever. A recent study focusing now, this kind of hit home for me because I was talking about this on the live the other day, right? A recent study focusing on musical improvisers, freestylers, right? Shows that the improvisation shifts neural substrates, which are the specific neural structures, white matter tracks, circuits, and networks within the brain that are responsible for carrying out complex functions. Neural substrates are like the hardware rewired for specific functions, and the brain systems are like the software. The interconnected brain regions that work together to complete complex problems like seeking, hearing, and remembering. Let's do that again. Neural substrates are like the hardware required for specific functions, and brain systems are like the software. The interconnected brain regions that work together to complete complex problem or complex processes like seeing, hearing, and remembering. Improvisers don't have some improv brain center that takes in information and generates an improv consciousness. Improvisers can toggle back and forth between different neural substrates and brain systems, which is, we can really leave it at the mind, but they can't. They got to leave it at the brain. They can't just say the mind, they got to say the brain, which is the mind is the real software and the brain is the hardware. But they got to switch it up. They got to push it back one. So the brain is the actual software. The brain systems is the actual software. But actually, it's the mind, the non-physical, that is the actual software. But you got to understand, they need shit that they can scan. What is a scan? A scan is a measurement. Even though you don't think about scans like that, it's measuring. It has to be able to measure. That's how you get a scan. You got to be able to look through this shit like this, bro. As the authors, let's see, improvisers. So improvisers don't have some improv brain center that's separate that takes in information and generates an improv consciousness or improv mind is what I would say. Improvisers can toggle back and forth between different neural substrates and brain systems. As the authors of the study explain, increasing improvisation freedom corresponds to a shift in the balance of the brain network engagement from greater involvement of executive and evaluative networks. So it's a greater balance of the brain that they're saying is involvement with the executive and evaluative networks. So the controlling network and the evaluation of the analytical process, aka the monos. And the intellect would be the executive in this aspect. I'm connecting the dots live right now with y'all. The executive aspect would be the intellect. An evaluative aspect or network sounds like to me will be what we call the monos. The analytical, evaluating, and constrained improvisation to heighten activity and auditory / motor and SNs. I don't know what SN means. During more free form creativity. That's what's happening to more free form creativity. We tend to think ourselves as being our executive networks. See, you tend to think yourself to be your fucking ego or your intellect. But that's only one of the many processes occurring simultaneously. Improvisers show us that being more open to other networks can change the way that we think and the way that we engage with the world. Thoughts comes from our memories, our sensations, and our environment. I would say that would even be the other way around. It will come from our sensations, which means our senses, right? So you have to have senses to have a thought. How do you know that? Because if you have a thought, you're thinking about objects. How do you know fucking objects without the fucking 5 senses? The only way that you can know objects is with fucking senses. So if you're thinking about a bear, if you're thinking about piss, if you're thinking about something to eat, you're thinking about some drink, you're thinking about mama, you're thinking about daddy, you would not, there's no way to know them. There's no way to have a memory of them without the 5 senses. So let's say it starts there. That's when memories can happen. There's no command center making sense of it all. Our executive network, active with goal-oriented tasks, thoughts look different from our default mode. From our default mode. So let's just take that. You looking at it from a different perspective when you're working off default mode. You see what I'm saying? So once you in that flow state, and then you look back and like, damn, I was in that flow state, and you start analyzing the flow state, you actually now by the time you start explaining how you was in that flow state, when you actually right now sitting in your default mode, you giving a distorted perception of it. This is what I'm trying to tell you about the fucking mind, bro. Is anybody listening? Can I get a witness? God damn, can I get a witness? So if you looking at ain't so far from the perspective from default mode in fucking Malkuth, you giving a distorted understanding of what ain't so far is. I'm hoping I'm getting a witness out here. Using the example of music, TGS said, listening to music open you to a certain creative current. When one masters an instrument, they are able to express that musical current through their instrument. Facts. Oh, yeah, okay, I like that one. I like that one. So listening to music open you up to a certain creative current. When one masters an instrument, they are then able to express that musical current through their instrument. Coop said, I'm a musician. I just had to throw that in. Fact, see, I get it. From being a rapper. I get it. That's how you get niggas who flow like, God damn, how the fuck he come up and say some shit like that? How he do some shit like that? God damn. Motherfucker done tap into a whole different current. You know how many times I done wrote at least songs or titles or use certain bars of a song and then fuck around, Lil Wayne been and said it, or Drake been and said it, and Lil Baby done said it. Like, what the fuck? But by that time, I'm already spiritual understanding that these thoughts just exist in a goddamn ether. They just pop up simultaneously. You don't even own these goddamn thoughts. So you damn sure don't own that idea. I know you've heard that plenty of times. Think about the illusionary idea of that shit. So that musician is hopping in on that current. That ego, that mind, that intellect, that analytical process, hopping in on that current and grabbed it. It's up for grabs. Who own it? This shit is simultaneously happening, gang. It's 11 o'clock at night. We sitting up here talking about the brain on a Friday night. Ain't it Good Friday or some shit? Because we can really take it up to the Akasha, right? We can really take that up because everybody, Akasha Records, Akasha Records, Akasha Records, Akasha Records. Space ain't nothing but data. Let's not forget you are the one who is observing space. So you beyond Akasha. Possibly said Cheetah is the memory of that information from the manas that allows Ahamkara. Come on now, talk that shit now. Cause ain't it something even called Cheetah Akash? This shit up for grabs. This shit for free. Gang. So he says, thoughts come from our memories, our sensations, and our environment. I disagree and I agree at the same time. And we explained that. There's no command center making sense of it all. I definitely disagree with that. But probably not in a way that we think. Like me, this is me. Like that me is there, but it's false, which is the ego, right? Our executive network, which is active with goal-oriented tasks, those thoughts look different from our default mode network. Active when daydreaming and ruminating thoughts, right? If we want to be more than just one network or the other, if we want to be more creative and agile, we need to stop thinking of ourselves as our conscious thoughts. We contain multitudes. There's multitudes of thoughts out here. They're just out there. I wouldn't even identify with all of them thoughts. So it seems like that thing is pushing you back into identifying with multiple thoughts. You know, as end up going what they call cuckoo for cocoa puffs, eh? They're cuckoo for cocoa puffs, my friend. My friend, are you cuckoo for cocoa puffs, my friend? Mi amigo, you're cuckoo for cocoa puffs, eh? You cuckoo for cocoa puffs. And they say them be the ones anyway, you know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, shout out to the ones who cuckoo for cocoa puffs. We done done what needs to be done. This is how you determine true knowledge and false knowledge. If the mind gives it to you, you know it's false knowledge. Ultimately, all knowledge is. But let's just talk so on a level that everybody can understand, not just a handful. Hey, Zero, my friend, mi amigo. Huh? Aquí? 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 Ah. Cool for Cocoa Puffs. But this is how you determine relative knowledge or relative truth versus ultimate truth, or relative knowledge versus ultimate knowledge. The true knowledge is that you are knowledge itself. There is no knowledge without you, without the known, the know, knowing, and the knower. That comes out of the mind. And the mind is also being observed. So the one who is the source of knowledge, aka you, the I am, the self, the cosmic P, the one who is nothing but prosperous, the one who is nothing but prosperity, the one who is endless, the one who is always in abundance, never limited, the one who is always constant, never changing. That's how we tell the difference. If it's changing, it's ultimately false. If it's staying the same, that's the truth. That's what we call keeping it real. Keep that shit 1K. Don't change. So if it ain't changing, that shit 1K. It's the P. If it's changing, it appears within the P. Cuckoo for Moose Knuckles. Fucking Moose Knuckles. 11:36 p.m. my time, and I'm kicking it with the Moose Knuckles. He said your Spanish is really good, my nose. I love it. I don't know nothing but aquí. No, nothing but aquí. And mañana. En bien. Ya bien. Buenos dias. Frio. Caliente. I know a little bit, bro. That's about it. Charles says, shit, I'm laying in the bed, dozing off, still listening. That's what I'm talking about, Chris. Charles, my bad, Charles. That's how it work. That's how it work, bro. Zero said the true knowledge is that you are the true knowledge. Facts. Mothra says absolute knowledge means absolute knowledge, except no substitutes. So I'm hoping y'all enjoyed this. We've been on here for 3 hours. I missed y'all for a minute, so I had to come tap back in with you. Don't worry, more will be coming. More will be coming. Here's the thing about what you gotta understand. Now that we got to this stage or this point or whatever we want to call it, this level, whatever, it's gonna be nothing but repetitious. All this shit is repetitious, and there's a good reason to have repetition. What did panic tells us programs the mind? Repetition, trauma, and symbols. First off, let's just go with repetition. Repetitively needs to be drilled in you on which way you should be going. Point you to it. That's what all teachers are doing. That's what they should be doing. Pointing you to you. That's it. They see you forgot, so they just gonna point you to it. That's it. And that, my friends, that's gonna do it for us. As always, no obstacles will apprehend you. Prosper over pain, which pain can be looked at as scarcity or lack of. You are not lack of. There's nothing scarce about you. You are not limited. You are prosperous. You are abundance itself. Literally, nigga. So there is no obstacles that will apprehend you. There's only opportunities. Opportunities for you to observe your one-sided opinion, your ego, your intellect, your mind, your body, your thoughts. And by the end of that observation, you will realize that you are the one that is observing, not that which can be observed. Then you find that you are happiness, you are love, you are so-called peace. Matter of fact, peace exists within you, but let's stick to that normal statement. You are peace. You are fearless. Nigga, there's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing stopping you. As always, love, peace, and hair grease.